basically become the behemoth that they have become. So for him to bring that experience to the PGA Tour, I think will be amazing. And I think it's great that Jay is there to help with the smooth transition also. So I think it's a really positive thing for the tour.
Go to the middle with Kevin.
Hey, Rory, in terms of recovery after the U.S. Open or recovery in any week, are there a couple things that you make sure to do every week for recovery, whether it's physical or mental, and is that maybe more important after the U.S. Open, or is it just as important, I guess, any week?
I think it's important every week. There's certain things. I think everyone's got their own way of recovering from grueling weeks, but I think they're just like the little habits that you pick up along the way, whether it's physical or whether it's mental or getting away from it, and giving yourself a little bit of time to recharge. But I think it's important to take care of yourself physically and mentally to especially when you play these big events and there's a lot of pressure and expectation. It is important to get away from all that as well.
Is a lot of it like Sunday night, or is it kind of Monday morning as you're traveling?
I think the Mondays are, I think most people, I certainly like to, unwind and have a glass of wine on a Sunday night, so I wouldn't say that's the best recovery modality, but certainly Mondays are where I try to get back into, or give myself that day. I think Mondays in between tournaments are quite important as a reset. So that's what I try to do.
And the Birdie Record, PGA Tour sanctioned, is 9. It was set in 1994. It hasn't been surpassed since. And a lot of records in golf and things keep going lower and lower. But I'm curious your take on why kind of it is set at 9, and if you think
9 in a row.
9 in a row.
I mean, I make 2 birdies in a row, and I'm thinking, ooh. So I think it's more of a mental thing, where. Yeah, you start to make a few birdies in a row and you start to think about it, and I think that's the worst thing you can do. You just need to try to get out of your own way when you're on a run like that. But yeah, I think it'll be a long time since when you see someone with 10 birdies in a row out here, especially with how difficult the setups are getting and how tough the courses are.
Do you have an idea of what your longest run might be, either on tour or not on tour?
No, I mean, look, I know I've played, stretches of holes, like 9 under through 10 or whatever, but I don't know.
We'll go back to David in the back, right back there. Thank you.
Thanks. Rory, you sort of hinted at this a little bit before, but the PGA Tour schedule, having gone Memorial, Canadian Open, U.S. Open, challenging golf courses can really sort of grind people up. And then you come here, and traditionally scores are much, much lower. Is it almost good in some ways inside the locker rooms when guys are talking about it, that you have an event where you don't have to maybe grind for as many pars as you would at some of those events, that the timing of this event where traditionally scores go really low is actually kind of welcome?
I think it is welcome, especially after, look, the guys that played Memorial, that was a grind. Look, there's a lot of guys in the field this week where this is their 4th tournament in a row. So, yeah, they've been put through the ringer the last few weeks, and this is a welcome setup where they feel like they can relax a little bit and not have to grind so much for your score.
Do you have to mentally make any adjustments or changes coming from Oakmont, traditional U.S. Open golf courses and things like that year after year, and coming here where you're trying to grind out pars and stuff like that? You make 4 or 5 pars in a row here, you might feel like you're losing ground to the field.
A little bit. I sometimes struggle with that when I go back to Europe as well, because the setups traditionally in Europe aren't quite as hard as the setups over here. So, the one thing on the PGA Tour that I think we're all aware of is like not short-siding yourself. Like you short-sided yourself last week at Oakmont, and it's like automatic bogey, if not more. Like sometimes when I go back to Europe or come to a tournament like this, you have to remind yourself, no, you can go at the pin. You can actually fire at the pins here. So, that takes a little bit of a mental adjustment at times, yeah.
Right here, Joe.
Assuming you haven't seen the course yet, have you heard about the
No.
course changes from Andy or anything along the lines? Or
No, no.
are you
I'm-
looking forward to seeing them just because they shrunk a couple fairways and from what happened 2 years ago? So
Yeah, I'm scheduled to play the front nine this afternoon, but I don't know much about them, but looking forward to getting on the course and seeing it again.
you mentioned clicking something in your game. Do you know immediately when with one shot on the range or in the middle of the round, it's clicking and it's working like you said?
I don't think it's one shot. I think it's it's the repeatability of shots. If I can see something or have a feeling that is very repeatable, whether it's on the range is one thing, but then on the golf course is the other. I think that's the proof is in the pudding there. And definitely last week I found a feeling, especially off the tee, that was repeatable, that was working well. And I led strokes gained off the tee last week, which was a big thing for me.
Which round? Any particular?
From the first, I thought I drove the ball well all week last week.
All right, we're going to do our final two questions. Joe, if you'll pass the mic right, no, we'll keep it right here, pass to your right, and then we'll finish with Dan.
Hi, Rory. What's it like seeing amateurs try to work their way around a course like this on Pro-Am Day? Where do you see them having the most trouble? And, do you take a moment here and there to try and fix anything about their swing or help them read a green, et cetera?
Yeah, I'll certainly help them to read a green, but the last thing I think they need is more swing thoughts in their head when they're playing in these pro-ams. I think sometimes it's just more they try to take shots on, or they try to hit a shot that they probably could pull off once or twice out of 10 instead of playing a little bit more percentage, and that's boring, but that's certainly the most effective way to lower your score.
And final question to Dan on the left.
You're playing in a bunch of national opens moving forward. You've talked about trying to find a new Mount Everest, a new motivation. Is playing around the world part of that? You seem to be going on a world tour this year.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go to India, and the European Tour and DP World created a new event there. So, I was asked at the start of the year would I be interested in going, and I said, yeah, that sounds amazing. It's in a the Hero Indian Open's always it's March, April time. So I'd love to go play DLF and try to figure my way around that place. But this one in Delhi in October made more sense. I've always loved the Australian Open. I've won there before. I played there as an amateur in the Australian Open, qualified for it, went through a qualifier in 2005, got through a 9-man playoff to get in. So I've always had a huge affinity for that part of the world. So to go back, especially Royal Melbourne this year, Kingston Heath next year, two of the best golf courses in the world on the Sandbelt. That's awesome too. But yeah, that's the part of the year where we have the opportunity to travel and to do these things. And if it makes sense for the schedule, and especially I'm excited to, there's never been a green jacket in India before. So to bring the green jacket to India is something that's going to be really cool. To go back to the Australian Open, I won that in 2013. Adam and I had a great battle down the stretch on the last day. He was the Masters champion at that point. So I don't know. I like to travel. I like to play in different parts of the world, and I've never been to India. I haven't been to Australia in 10 years. So it's nice to go back to these places.
Are you going to bring the green jacket to Old Trafford?
I probably not. I probably don't. I don't know if I'll have the opportunity. If I do, if I do have the opportunity, I would like to. But we'll see.
All right, Rory, thanks so much for your time and best of luck this week.
Thank you.
All right. All right.